19 states issued rebates or stimulus payments in 2022. Is it going to be taxable? Is the Fed going to tax that? I've got that info and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. All right, so, we've gone through this rash of stimulus payments, and I hope we never see that again, because that would mean we've had significant economic trauma. And we've seen the consequences, by the way, as well with inflation, right? So, but there's been this rash of it since COVID. And there's been a big question that thankfully had a very easy answer, and that was, well, are these stimulus payments taxable? So is the Fed going to tax this money? And no, the answer has always been no. And it's intentional because, yes, Fed and the Congress, they're the ones that set the laws, but it's the IRS, technically, in the balance of power that determines the tax laws. Well, Congress sets the tax laws, and so then the IRS interprets them, so this is sort of back and forth. So Congress has been careful to structure these stimulus payments in the past. I remember way back in 2008, 2009, when George W. Bush, I remember this for the first time in my career, where it was specified that the stimulus payment, it's not just going to be helicopter money, it's a tax credit that you're going to receive in advance so that the IRS can't determine that this is taxable. Therefore, you don't need to worry about this. This is money in your pocket that you can use in your time of need. And so that's how they've structured it, because tax credits are not taxable income. For your taxes, if you've got kiddos, you likely have child tax credits, or you've had child independent care credit, where, for child care, those sorts of things, maybe earned income credit. If you are fortunate enough to have received my favorite credit, the retirement savers credit, maybe you've got kids in college or had kids in college, you went through college yourself, you had college credits, lifetime learning credit, or American Opportunity credit, all of those tax credits, or I'm not trying to overwhelm you, but those are credits that reduce your taxable income dollar for dollar, so they enhance your refund. They mean you pay less tax. And these stimulus payments have always been structured as tax credits, always, the most recent ones, as tax credits, but the IRS has said, we're going to pay it to you in advance instead of you having to wait to file your taxes, right? So that way they get this emergency money in your hands now, immediately when you need it. They caused a big mess with it, right? But they structured it as a tax credit so that it wouldn't be taxable. Does that make sense? All right, so that's at the federal level. That's federal taxes. What about states? States, are they issuing stimulus payments or rebate payments? In 2022, they are, and there's been a lot of discussion, did a couple of videos on it, where as inflation was surging, that was, well, states, governors were coming out and saying, we need to help issue gas cards to our citizens, or we're going to give stimulus payments to our citizens to help with inflation. And, some of us, a certain financial worldview, look and sort of laugh and chuckle and say, wait a second, to deal with inflation, we're going to print more money? To deal with inflation, we're going to put more money out there in circulation? That's strange. Now, these were small amounts, so you'd say, well, probably, it might not have a big impact on inflation, but still, guys, it's kind of crazy. 19 states in 2022 issued either relief payments, stimulus, or rebate payments. Now, this is at the state level. Are those going to be taxable by the federal government? The IRS is coming out with a determination soon as to, from a state-by-state basis, whether they're going to tax these or not. By the time you watch this, they may have already made a determination. And if they haven't yet and you received one of these payments, you might want to delay filing your tax return. 19 states, I would have thought maybe 4 or 5. California, Delaware stood out to me. I know I live in Indiana, so I know they were issuing a refund of tax because financially, apparently the state of Indiana said that they were in great financial shape. But 19 states, gosh, take a look at this list. Alaska has the largest, California the second largest. And I'm going to piggyback on this one because apparently the language when California declared this rebate, this payment, the language is what some folks are saying, this one might be taxable. We'll see. So that's California. Let's see. Colorado, Delaware, $300 in payments. They were the ones that we're talking about. They're going to issue that on a gas card specifically. I don't I don't know about that. Florida, 450. Georgia, decent amount. Hawaii, that's not going to go very far. All right, in Indiana, 325 rebate payments. Okay, so lots, 19 states. So that's a significant amount. How are they going to determine if this is taxable or not? Well, I would check out this article because the author actually did a great job, I think, in breaking it down. One of the individuals interviewed said, I would always assume that state stimulus payments are going to be taxable and set your expectations that way. And then if they determine that they're not, then that's a blessing. I would agree. I'd have that expectation, that posture, that it's going to be taxable. And if they determine that it's not taxable, great, that's a win. All right. So Indiana and a few other states declared that their rebate payment, that this payment wasn't a stimulus and it wasn't to help with, prices being high, but instead they said, we've collected too high a tax revenue. We set certain tax rates and it turns out that we're flush with cash. Financially, the state is in a stronger position. We should have collected less in taxes all along, and therefore we're going to refund you some of the tax that you paid. I think that has a chance of flying in, well, that's not taxable, because they could have just as easily as said, we're going to issue a new tax credit on your tax return for your 2022 tax return because we can afford to pay less or charge less taxes. So we're going to issue a credit, but we're going to pay it out to you in advance. And I think so much of the language sort of suggested that. So I think states that did that rebate, like Indiana did, there's a greater chance that those will not be taxable at the federal level. California, and I'm not picking on California, okay? How California structured it is they specifically said that these dollars are not a tax refund. They also had a statement that the relief is for more than COVID. So that suggests this is not connected to just disaster recovery, which is sort of IRS and Congress language to tuck a lot of things, a lot of unique tax or unique income and tax laws in there such that it's not taxable. So they said it's not a tax refund and this is not directly related to this disaster relief of COVID. So I think it's going to be more challenging. The author, I believe, is logical in this and saying that one might be harder for the IRS to say it's not taxable. Here is yet another complexity. We've dealt with one every single tax year for the past 3 years. Here's another one where you've got to take a look and say, well, did you receive a payment? And work with your CPA to ensure that it's not taxable. This may mean you've got to delay when you're filing. Small amount, it's not going to amount to much, but you're going to want to do it right. So make sure that your certified financial planner is working with your CPA and doing tax planning, proactive tax planning, so you're avoiding mistakes like this that you could make and capturing and optimizing tax planning opportunities so that you can pay the least amount of tax over your lifetime. Work with your CFP on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well or send us an email, info@korhorn.com. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.